Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So the Iowa caucuses are going to be taking place 7 days from today, which is why I've decided why not do kind of like a full 2024 Republican primary prediction going state by state. Now, when we reach a certain point, there's going to be one clear winner, and we can pretty much just speed run the rest of the states as giving all of their delegates to the victor of the caucuses or primaries there, because they'll just be getting enough delegates to basically clear the threshold in all of the later states to win everything. But what we do know is that we're moving along here pretty quickly. And we have these polls right here, and they all show the same thing. They show Donald Trump up nationally by 51, 52 percentage points. That's been that way for quite some time. Nikki Haley has kind of overtaken Ron DeSantis for that second place, distant second finisher. But even then, it's not likely that she's really going to be able to contest this nomination. This is Donald Trump's for the taking. But still, some of the early states where some of these candidates have spent a lot more resources than Donald Trump, they will likely be closer than the national primary is showing, like Iowa, New Hampshire, for example. So we are going to fill this out. We are going to kind of show how the race is going to shake out, who's going to drop out first. And we're going to start off with Iowa, because Iowa is the first caucus that will be taking place next Monday. And this is going to be a caucus where it's going to be taking place during inclement weather. I mean, you look at the temperatures there, they're supposed to possibly even be in the negatives. And that means that the most enthusiastic of the supporters are going to be the ones going out to caucus, because it's not like you have this early vote type of ordeal thing happening. So I don't know how that's going to affect turnout. But what I do know is that the most enthusiastic base is still Donald Trump's base. So is it possible that he outperforms the polling in Iowa? We don't really know how the polling miss will shake out, if there really is going to be any at all. We know that the Des Moines Register poll tends to be the most accurate pollster in Iowa. It's the gold standard poll, one of the most accurate polls in the country. It shows Trump up by 32, but again, they haven't done a poll in about a month. But if anything, I believe Trump's standing has grown a little bit stronger, if anything, in Iowa. So in terms of his vote share, I think he's probably going to get somewhere in the mid-50s or so. And he's actually taking it seriously. He's not taking anything for granted. He's not really leaving any stones unturned. And what that is going to do is it's going to get him the lion's share of the delegates out of Iowa. So you look at that there, giving him 55. Ron DeSantis, I mean, there's going to be like a DeSantis-Haley debate type of thing going on. I expect DeSantis to get around 17, 18% of the vote. And when it comes down to Nikki Haley, even though she's polling in third, she might actually get into second place or so. I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm not really ready to do a final prediction, but I'm just going to have her tied at 7 delegates. And then the remainder of these delegates will be split between Vivek Ramaswamy and Chris Christie. So look at that there. Donald Trump with a sizable delegate haul. And any Trump win that's not much lower than expected is going to give him momentum ahead of New Hampshire. New Hampshire is going to be taking place 8 days after the Iowa caucus. And we're going to look at New Hampshire right here because the polls do show it a lot closer. There's some polls that even have it within 4 points between Trump and Haley. And Haley got the Sununu endorsement. Haley is getting all this donor money to help her out. They're trying to get Democrats to support Nikki Haley, or not Democrats, but Democrat voters in a general election. Because you technically, if you're a registered Democrat, you can't. But people that are left-leaning independents, they can vote in this primary, and they do exist in sizable numbers in the state of New Hampshire. Now, do I think Nikki Haley's going to win New Hampshire? No, but is it likely going to be the closest contest? I really do believe so. And I don't have anybody dropping out after Iowa, although even though it said that DeSantis would drop out in terms of this one report that got released if he just completely lost Iowa, which is basically would be a smart thing for him to do to save any face he can, because Iowa is where he put all of his eggs in that basket. And he was polling a year ago, neck and neck with Trump in Iowa. He basically moved there, abandoned Florida, spent hundreds of millions of dollars to do what? To lose support, to cut his support base in half, in thirds. I mean, it's abysmal, it's embarrassing, but still, I think sunk cost fallacy. He probably stays around for a couple more primary states, New Hampshire being one of them. But I think that after that, you'll see more people drop out. I think Trump probably, you could even say he gets around 45% of the vote there. I think you could say that's fair. Maybe possibly he could get around 50. I think Haley, though, is going to be the one that gets like not 30%, but close to that. I could definitely see that happening. I think Vivek and DeSantis both kind of get around. I guess Chris Christie's actually polling in third. So I think Christie will go out there and probably, you could make an argument that he would get like 3 delegates. DeSantis and Vivek both down there. I mean, DeSantis could finish 5th in New Hampshire. It's unlikely, but it's possible. And from that point forward, if he gets that performance, he might as well just drop out. I don't know if he will, but in terms of Vivek will drop out. Christie wants to stay in until the convention. I don't really know how that's going to work for him, but he's kind of deranged, and we know that. So up next is the state of Nevada. The Republican caucuses there take place before South Carolina. And in terms of what we see out of Nevada, I think Donald Trump, if you look at the polls, we haven't seen a lot of polling out of Nevada, but the polls that we have seen do indeed show Donald Trump with a ridiculous margin of victory so far. I mean, it's kind of crazy. The last poll had him up by 52 percentage points, and it kind of makes sense. This is a state that I think he will do well in. I think he'll get around 65% of the vote. I think Haley will come in a distant second. DeSantis probably in like a third place finish there, and Chris Christie might get whatever's left. But Donald Trump will likely go out there, take like 65% of the vote, and he's already building up that delegate lead. But what Nikki Haley's campaign is really hinging on is indeed South Carolina. And technically you have the Virgin Islands caucus. We could just fill that at the end. I mean, the delegates at the convention from those places, they're all going to vote for Trump anyways. But South Carolina is the next caucus there, or the primary, I should say. And Donald Trump has a sizable lead despite the fact that it is indeed Nikki Haley's home state. I think that this is where he's going to go out there and really make his statement win. That's going to just end all talk of, we can beat Trump in a primary altogether. I think with this momentum, he's going to get around 54% of the vote. It is Haley's home state. She might get like 24, 25, not even percent of the vote there. And then, Ron DeSantis probably does pick off some remaining voters in the state, and then we'll just give Donald Trump the rest of these delegates for the most part. So Trump with a 58-26 win in Nikki Haley's home state. At this point, she basically has to drop out. Make no mistake about it. Michigan is up next. I mean, even DeSantis by this point, you would believe that he would even drop out, because if these first 4 states are over, you have to be extremely delusional to stay in past this point. And technically, you could argue that DeSantis was delusional to run in the first place, and the same thing goes for a lot of these other people. But still, I mean, come on. At this point, Donald Trump has a sizable lead. He's not losing any support. He's going to go out there and steamroll basically just everybody in every single state, even a state like Utah or Washington, D.C., like he probably still wins those states despite getting absolutely decimated in them in the 2016 primary, because first of all, the primary electorate has kind of changed a little bit since then, for one. For two, Trump is a lot more popular among Republicans than he was back in 2016. And all these other people, they've just fallen flat on their face. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows they have zero shot at victory, especially at this point. So even their own supporters are going to say, you know what, let's just get behind Donald Trump. He's going to be the nominee. I mean, they'll have some holdouts, and it'll take them a lot longer to come home. And you have like 7 or 8 months before they really need to at this point. But still, it's like at this rate, there's really nothing these people can do to stop Donald Trump. There's just not. And even if you do want to say they do stay in, And you go through the Michigan primary, Donald Trump is going to absolutely decimate everybody in Michigan. He might even get close to like cracking 70% of the vote. Like Nikki Haley might get some voters in, West Michigan and Grand Rapids, Oakland County, but she's not even going to come close to winning those counties in the first place. Like, it's embarrassing at that point. Like, she could maybe cement herself as like that secondary option if she does stay in or whatever, but because it's like if DeSantis is that third place finisher, I can't really see him like positioning himself to be that second choice. So it's likely, if anything, that he's the one that drops out after South Carolina. And if it becomes like a two-way race between Donald Trump and Nikki Haley, it's like, yeah, Haley is probably going to win maybe 20-25% of the primary vote. And then in every ensuing state, like when you get to a state like Texas, Donald Trump probably is going to get closer to like 80% of the vote. But at the convention, I think everybody's going to drop out by now. All of these delegates are going to go in every single state you see to Donald Trump for the most part. I mean, by Super Tuesday, he'll probably be the only one in the race. And if he's not, all these other clowns are just going to keep getting embarrassed and embarrassed and embarrassed. And it's like there's really no reason for anybody not to see the writing on the wall at this point. And it's like Iowa, when Iowa rolls around and Trump turns out to perform relatively in line with polling, and possibly he could outperform polling, then it's like, hey, wait a minute, looks like we were right the whole time. But you still have a lot of delusional people out there. You have a lot of delusional members of the DeSantis campaign that think that Iowa is still going to be won by Ron DeSantis, despite having zero evidence that really could back up their claim, because even things that aren't really poll related, because yeah, polls aren't everything, but all of the other metrics aren't going in their favor. They keep talking about a ground game, but we've still really seen no evidence of that working out in their favor. And it's like, yeah, if you spend all of that time, money, and energy on a state and you do drop significantly in the polls and you're down by 50 points, it's like, yeah, honestly, the polls do matter. And even if the polls are off by 10 or 20 points, it's a sizable victory for Donald Trump, and you can't even really use that as momentum. Oh, well, we didn't lose by 50, we lost by 40, or we didn't lose by 30, we lost by 20 in this state. And it's like you still lost by a lot. You're still in an awful position overall. And still, we haven't even seen a polling miss really that big. I think the biggest polling miss we saw was in the Michigan Democrat primary, where you didn't even have that many polls conducted in the first place, and Bernie Sanders did outperform expectations quite a bit, and that's true. But still, you're probably not going to see that happen at this stage in the game, given how many polls we've seen, given the fact that they all show the same thing. It's not like they're really volatile or they're missing certain demographics, more likely than not. So either way, there's no way you could chalk this up other than Donald Trump is going to have a resounding primary victory, and we could focus more of our energy this point forward attacking this joke of an administration and the left. So that's really the way it is. Donald Trump will get the lion's share of the Republican primary delegates because everybody at certain points is going to drop out. I think I said after Michigan is the last time you will see one of these people in the race except Chris Christie, but it's not like he really counts. If he does actually stay in until the convention, people are just going to perceive him to be more of a joke as they already perceive him to be. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.